eclectic passengers on board a common journey. The quarantine train journey was an online poetry movement that started during the pandemic, and it helped unearth new talent. We have Arjun Rajendran, founder and curator, Soni Somarajan, creative head and curator, Shobhana Kumar, co-curator, and Prashanth Parvatneni, allied arts creator, and they are here with their sharings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Arjun, and yeah, so this journey, the quarantine train, I think each of us here, half an hour just is not enough to cover it, and we can go on for several hours about you know, why we started and all of that. And yeah, before I go ahead, you know, I just want to tell you that you know, I'm not wearing these glasses to look cool. I just broke my other glasses, which was simpler. So you know, this also, you know, when we actually bought a train, we have an and it's a coal engine, and you know, this prevents the sparks from getting into my eyes. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so the journey, it began sometime in early 2020. I was doing workshops before that in my city, Pune, and I saw that, you know, after the pandemic, as most of you must have experienced, everything was shutting down, right? Cinemas were shutting down, roads were shutting down, there were curfews, bars were shutting down, cigarette shops were shutting down, poets were shutting down. And there was this need, I felt, as a poet and as a reader of poetry to be able to engage with others, other creative-minded folk. And it just really started as a very simple social media post, and it quickly, I mean, I was very surprised with the response, by the amount of devotion and all these, you know, my splendid team here, you know, they're all pillars, and the amount of work that they put in for the sheer love of poetry. You know, it's been incredible, and you know, we've had more than about 170 sessions so far, and we've had poets from around the world. We've had Pulitzer Prize winning poets. We've had poets from as far away as Iceland, and we've also supported some movements such as raising a voice for Varavara Rao. We've had poems translated. Poems by Varavara Rao translated into many languages, and yeah, and we are told. I mean, the greatest gift is that, you know, now it's been 2 years, and you know, when a poet or a writer comes and tells us that, you know, you've given us a home, we find a community here. That sense of community is. And especially at a time when people felt very lonely, very scared, I think we have created something special, and it's all thanks to the extraordinary people I'm here with today, and also some people over there in the audience. So, having said that, I'll pass it on to Prashanth. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, it has, of course, like Arjun said, has been an incredible journey. And I think, I mean, I'll start from a very personal note, which is that I never knew what it is to be a poet, right? Like, I mean, and I've always slightly confused and utterly shy most of the times about like calling myself a poet, etc. But in Quarantine Train, when I joined, I realized what it is to be a poet. I realized that it's not tied to publications or work, although that's a large part of it, but it is everyday work. And Abbas and I were talking about, Abbas is also part of Quarantine Train, that at Quarantine Train, we feel like we are working on poetry. And that's something that is very special. And all our sessions that we curate as part of the team and as part of, along with our members, are all first and foremost geared towards making ourselves better poets, better craftsmen, almost like we are workers, you know. I mean, in the sense that we are working to make poetry. And that, I think, is a work ethic which we have sort of shared over 2 years. And I truly believe that that's what has sustained us. You know, because everything else fades very fast. But if you are working with words, with the love of words, with the love of language, that's what has sustained us. So I'm just going to give you a glimpse of like 3 kind of sessions. Arjun has already spoken about our guest sessions, but these are also not guest sessions where, you know, people come and we say how great you are and how wonderful you are. We often ask poets to come and do a masterclass for us, which is that they often share a particular aspect of their work and tell us how we can also, you know, instill that in our work. Like, for instance, when Ranjit Hoskote came, it was not just a mere poetry reading, right? He was talking about how research is an integral part of poetry, something that, you know, poets, I think, should be reminded of over and over again. And it's not just a matter of, you know, self-gazing all the time, but like, you know, there is a certain aspect of, again, it brings in a certain rigor of work. Whether it is somebody coming and illuminating for us a particular context of poetry, from where it comes from, a particular texture of poetry which we may not be aware of. All of these are master classes, rather than just, you know, guest felicitations and to feel proud about having them and hosted them in our space. And we have learned so much from them. The other very important part, and I think the most consistent part of our work, is what we call critiquing sessions. These are sessions where we, every month, have a prompt, and people from our community write poems in response to that prompt, and then all of us meet, pick 2 poems of that pool, and sit and tediously edit them together. Tediously give feedback on every word, every line. You know, we can make it better like this. This line is great. I wish I had thought of it. And also, you can make this better like this. So it becomes a collective exercise of almost like chiseling out, you know, a poem and making it giving it a better shape. We also sometimes do the same process with poems which are already written by whatever greats or poets we love, and work with them and understand why we enjoy these poems. So those are called appreciation sessions. So this, as you can see, is a very minute, nitty-gritty work of craft, but we also believe that it's not devoid of all the other conversations of poetry. It comes with it, whether it is the socio-political aspects, the cultural histories that poems bring with them, and we pay attention to that by way of working very closely with poems. So that, I think, is something very special in Quarantine Train, and we have tried to keep that going. And I'll pass it on to Soni now to talk about a very special initiative of Quarantine Train.
Thank you, Prashanth. In continuation with what Prashanth said about the rigor that we bring to the practice of poetry, as well as, you know, kind of getting younger writers to bring more diligence and to practice more diligence in what they do and how they write, bringing more method to their process. What we thought was this should not just benefit our members alone. And we decided to extend that to a larger frame. And in our very first, in the first year of inception in 2020, we decided to bring about a poetry competition in memory of Deepankar Kiwani. The competition is called the Deepankar Kiwani Memorial Prize. And Deepankar Kiwani was, and he passed away in March 2020, just about the time that we began the Quarantine Train. And that moment was very defining for us, in the sense that here is a moment that can inspire not just us, but poets all over, those who have just come into the field of poetry as such, and those who have been practicing the art for a while. And that is how we came up with the idea of a competition. And we have been through 2 editions now. We have prize money, we give away memberships to the Quarantine Train, as well as we give away a citation. But that's all the material part of the prize itself. the competition as such, we believe in it goes through a process of blind reading where the names are not disclosed to anyone who's the people who are reading. So we have three rounds of how we go about reading the poetry, and then finally arriving at the eventual three prize winners. And so first there are the readers round, and then there is something called the secret jury. So naturally, we never really come to know who have decided on the prizes for the Dipankar Kiwani Prize. So the next edition begins next month, and then the entries close in around December, right? Yeah, in December, and then the adjudication process goes through about 4 months, and then we go to the grand finale of the prize ceremony with what was just started last year, the Quarantine Train Festival, that is the Ways of Verse, which is already one edition old. So, in keeping with the legacy of Quarantine Train so far, about bringing poetry to everyone, and also trying to promote poetry and bring more interest, bring more talents into industry, not the industry, but the poetry field, we have the Dipankar Kiwani Prize.
Yeah, before we pass it on to Shobhana, if you want to submit to the DKM prize, for God's sake, please, please, please read the guidelines, okay?
Thanks, Arjun and Soni. So, W.E. Deming said, "In God we trust, everyone else, please bring data." So that was the data you heard. But if you ask us what we've really done in the last 2.5 years, most of us got here yesterday, and most of us hadn't met each other at all. But it was like meeting old family, and that's what TQT has done to us. We've not been those random, strange windows on Zoom screens that we've all grown so comfortable seeing in the last 2.5 years. This is a collective voice that's made us believe that, I can pick up the phone and talk to a poet friend of mine I may never meet in my life in Vienna, who will listen to my personal traumas and angsts and troubles and offer me solace. And she in turn knows she can dial in to somebody in New York, and she will have a year to listen to, and then this circle goes round and round and round. So that has been our greatest victory. As artists, all of us always hear how selfish artists can be. You guys can't see beyond your nose, and we hear that all the time. But this has been a forum where we have a core team of 15 amazing people. And for all of us on the core team, TQT is more than a full-time job, okay? In the morning, we're making these long Zoom calls to each other, figuring out what to figure out for the next month, what speakers to invite, how do we curate sessions, how do we improve engagement. And that does not come from a place of us wanting to become better, but also working for all of us to become better. And for all of us, I think, and I speak on behalf of all our members here, Parvin, Saket, I see NS, who's come down all the way from Calcutta just to see the TQT family, Abbas, who's come all the way from Pune, Ishan from Pune, Sufia Khatun, who's part of the festival, Spatika here, and Ashwin, of course, is part of the festival. There are so many of us here, many more who regret not being here, but I'm sure are going to bug us for stories for many, many months to come. This is what makes this community tick. It's also allowed us as artists to look beyond just what art can do. And like Arjun mentioned, when Varavara Rao was imprisoned, it drove us into a tizzy of activity, and we had his work translated in 23 languages, all during the midst of the pandemic. We had it archived. it sounds very pompous to go on saying, we did this, we did this. It's not us here sitting, but it's this collective energy of 100 poets from all different parts of the world. So I speak for all of them when I say this. We also helped an elderly gentleman whose community library in Mysore was burnt because of an act of religious intolerance. So I remember, I recall Ishan traveling to many places, placing orders for books that the community got together, and Abbas coordinating the logistics to ensure that the whole thing gets there. So that's the kind of energy this community has been able to give. And we're post-pandemic now, we've got back to our completely crazy lives, and there's still something that holds us together. And in many ways, it's like the Bengaluru Poetry Festival team that comes together year after year. Only we come together every Tuesdays and every Saturdays. As poets, we're already kicked out half. We have one step out of the door in all our homes, pretty much disowned by family. Now that we've dedicated 2.5 hours of a weekday and 2.5 hours of a Saturday night, you know what the scene is in domestic homes in all our lives. But we're very happy with that. So anybody looking for community, we're here. And that's what we've been able to do. And the DKM prize is one of the prizes in India that's open to all age groups. Because pretty much if you're over 45, you're officially over the hill. There are no residencies open to you. There are no prizes waiting for you. There are no honors waiting for you. The only thing you have access to is different colors of hair color and you know, Botox regimens. But this prize is open to everyone. And we've had an 88-year-old gentleman apply to us a few years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. So that's the incident. So that's what we are as a community, and that's what we've been able to do. A big, big thanks to the BPF team for giving us this opportunity to speak about our work. All our conversations, all our masterclasses are archived and are accessible for free on our Facebook page, The Quarantine Train. So do look at it, and you'll get to know what we're doing. More than anything, it's taught us the importance of being humble, because once you're there with 100 other people on screen, you know how far you have to travel as an artist. So that's that. So we're 17 minutes, so we have 13 minutes more, and as poets, we'd like to present some poems. Yeah, one round. So I'm going to start with one poem first. So this is called, you can see how haphazard our lives are. Yeah, no, that's okay. So I'm going to read one that appeared in the Sangam House journal. It's called Botox. In Kannan's corner shop, everything is broken, even the ceiling. Through the light of day and into the night, he bends over, fixing, mending, repairing, seaming, hemming, tinkering, soldering, all the brokenness the housewives bring him. Sometimes they become as good as new. There are the repeat offenders who arrive every few months, in need of new washers, handles, motors, and what have you. He mends them all. But today, when Shalini brings him her mixer of 20 years, he looks over the familiar piece for a long time and finally tells her, it's too broken. Over to you, Prashanth.
So I'm going to read a poem that I wrote recently. It's called All That Needs Doing. And because I was talking about the work that gets done in Quarantine Train, I thought I'll read a poem about that work which never gets done. It's called All That Needs Doing. Leave all that needs doing undone. remember that Earth, after all, is a ball. There is no brink to fall off from. We are bound to cycle from duress to indifference and back. Don't worry. Our silence will pass the test of law. They'll find no evidence of walls on homes that went missing. Nobody will report the theft of breath. All bodies that make it to the shore will be deposited safely back into the Leith. Time will pass as if without a past. Our hearts will reverse their shirts again. We'll cut our nails, fold our shame, make paper balls, and throw them into the unclaimed. After waiting long enough to find the right word, we'll let today remain undescribed. If no one saw the tree fall in the forest, there was no tree, there was no forest. I was not there. I just want to also thank Pervin, who's here, who helped me edit this poem, also part of TQT, and pointed out things which I had never seen in this poem. So thank you so much. I know editors never get their due, so I'm very happy that Pervin helped me really refine this poem and bring it to shape.
This poem that I'm going to read today was written in response to a prompt at the quarantine train. Now, in all the last 2 years, one thing I've noticed about prompts every month is everybody is writing good poetry. And at this age, I am intimidated, let me admit. And very seldom have I submitted to the prompts. But this one really came up that day, and this was something I felt was good enough to get written as a poem. And this poem is called 2186, and that's in the numeral form. And to give a little context, I joined a public school, residential public school in 1984. And my school types are here today, my family, and this is for them. 2186, admission day, Sainik School, 1984. The brick-red spires see off the rain's dawn attack. The road lies stained, water bullets melting, sun-caught. Flanked by tall eucalyptuses, sentry-like witnesses, father, pensive, lugs a black trunk. I am 11, exploring fallen wet leaves. They give up steam, curling around ankles, a hungry cat. In the auditorium, hull-shaped, a rustle of paperwork, while resident pigeons target us for aerial shit sprays. We duck. Done, I am issued a roll number, 2186, soon stenciled into my car keys by Jude Edwin Fernandez, a year senior. A 4-digit number for the next 7 years and posterity, inscribed on all my belongings, a tag erasing my name, the rite of passage to a poor man's public school.
So I'm sure all of us have demons, our own personal demons inside us. And so death and the supernatural have a constant fascination for me. And I sometime in 2017, I thought of an amusement park where perhaps that caters to corpses. How would that be like? And a series of poems emerged from that. And I let my mind just take on certain structures. And this poem is called Carousel. And I used the structure of a carousel to portray my demons. So, Carousel. Leukemia, the necromancer, stole a kid from my neighbor's life. The only night I slept at their house, she traced her teenage fingers upon my cheek, begged me to find her at the carousel. I push a skeleton off of a horse, take its place. Invisible hands turn on music boxes behind my ears. She's on the pony to my left. We take turns going up, down. The boy from my school who drowned with his brother, they share a stallion. Corn dogs. Every horse goes up as mine goes down. The air is scented with cotton candy, sparklers, millipedes. I even spot the little white mouse I choked on my balcony, eyes fading out like infatuation. Who is missing? Who is? Who? Father of the servant girl I called an orphan. He's lying between the horses, wasted on country liquor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank